cool. Hey guys, Sean Smith here with PPC AMS Accelerator, and I am here today with an awesome guest, one of the students in the program. His name is Sufian Hakeem, and he is one of our students who's gotten results with the program. So I wanted to do an interview with him. So Sufian, introduce yourself, let the people know who you are.
Hey everyone, my name is Sufian Hakeem, and as Sean said, I'm one of the students of the program. I'm a long-time member of the program, and I've been with Sean for quite a while. He's been teaching me a lot, and I started out running my own. Well, I started running my own Amazon business a couple of years ago, around 2015, and I've met Sean, and he's been able to help me with my ads. And then slowly, I started learning about PPC in general, and I took a big interest in that. And since then, he's been helping me kind of, just get clients and learn a lot about PPC. And so at this point, we have some clients, and I'm just really happy with the results. So we're looking to share results. Was that good, or do we need to cut some of that out?
Nah, man, it's casual, so don't even worry about it.
Great.
So another thing is, what you said is we've known each other for a really long time. Yeah. And it's been interesting because, when I think about our history, our relationship, I've known you since kind of I was starting. And, you've known me since kind of you were starting. This was years. We've known each other for years, and this was even before I had the program. And, I remember working with you on your PPC, and, it was really tough. The brand, what you were selling is a competitive market. And, I mean, my story is similar to yours. I used to sell on Amazon and I didn't succeed as well. So that's why I got into PPC. So, so basically, like, long story short, and it's funny because, you kind of went through your journey. Like, you left Amazon, you kind of did some other stuff. Then you came back, life's not, a straight line, you just hop around and you figure it out, man. Right. And so, it's kind of interesting, because there was a while where you were kind of just doing your thing. We hadn't talked for a while, and then you kind of came back to it and we're like, hey, let's do this. So, it's just cool, man. Like, everyone's journey is different, and, it's just life, it's not like, and I think that's what makes it like kind of cool, is because, even though, it's not a straight line, it's definitely makes for better stories, I guess you could say. So it's like, yeah. So, you're working with, company and, with the clients and all that stuff. So, what type of, in regards to Amazon advertising, Amazon PPC, what type of results are you seeing from the program? And what are some key insights that you've gotten from the program that have helped you not only get results for others, but, learn more about PPC and understand it better?
Yeah, definitely. So for starters, like I started kind of working in the campaigns early last month, January. So beginning of 2021. Yeah. And one big thing we've noticed so far was a good decrease in ACOS. And that's also resulted in an uptick in sales with a slightly lower spend, of course, because I mean, that's what ACOS is. So that's been a huge benefit, and it's just great news overall, because we were
what are those, like, could you give me some hard figures, like what the before and after was like, like, hey, our ACOS was around this before, and, after applying it's around this now, PPC sales were around this, and now it's around this.
Yeah. So for one of the brands, sales last month were $1,900. The spend was $8,100. So
wait, you mean the sales were 8,000 and the spend was 1,900, right?
No. So this is actually one of the brands I was mentioning to you before. They were struggling. So the sales for last month, January. Yeah.
1,900 and the spend was 8,000.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. Yes. Don't worry, bro. I've seen like 1,000% ACOS on accounts, so don't even worry about it. It's been there, done that, still there sometimes,
Exactly. Yeah. So the sales were 1,900. The spend was 8,100, and so the ACOS for last month was 423% ACOS. Unfortunately.
Nice.
So yeah, after applying some of your tactics, let's go ahead. This month, so far this month, we've seen a decrease in ACOS. So now the ACOS for this month is 328%, and the spend,
cool.
Yeah. And so the spend is 7,500 rounding up, and the sales are 2,200.
Cool. So like, you know, you got into this account and I mean, at the end of the day, it's all about results, man. And that's a good result. You know, you decreased it by about 100%. And
Mhm.
I think that like when you're dealing with that high ACOS, you can decrease it by 100%. You could decrease it by 200%. You know what I mean? But once you start to get to 100% or less, that's when those decreases aren't as drastic. And you'll probably see that, you know what I mean? Like, you know, as you scroll, as you go through, you're going to see as you get lower and lower on ACOS, it's harder to get those big jumps because that's just generally not how it works. Because if you go to, like, if you go from like 100% to 30% ACOS, I
Mhm.
mean, your sales could just tank. But it's cool that you're seeing an increase in sales and a decrease in spend for that account. That's awesome, man.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. It is awesome. And so something that they were not doing that I've used some of your techniques. I don't know if you wanted me to get into the technique or.
Yeah, hop
Okay.
on in, man. Yeah, dude, PPC, people that are in PPC are all about the techniques and the tactics and the weeds. You know what I mean? That's, you know, they're very technical people, I feel like, by nature. So,
Exactly. So yeah, so one big thing was just being able to move in bulk the way you teach to move in like scale and everything like that. I really enjoy that, and that's been able to free up a lot of time so that we can
yep,
optimize and do other things. So the
yep,
just the whole concept of scale and doing things in bulk from the jump, your course and your program, the way it teaches that has just been a huge benefit. And other than
yeah,
that, some certain things just like the way you gather keywords and just like the Amazon suggested keywords, like your techniques with that part and just launching campaigns, that's been helping a lot. And then of course, like the optimization once you get into the Excel sheets and download the search term reports and stuff like that. We were able to find using your like techniques and certain filters and the way just how you go about it with the pivot tables and all of that. We were able to find a lot of just keywords and search terms that we were not originally bidding on, and take that and
yeah.
use data to just optimize. And it's shown just within the last 30 days. It's shown a great results so far.
And this account, you started working with this account in January, right?
Yeah, I launched like the first campaigns mid-January.
Yeah.
So so it's been up for a little over a month and a half at this point. And yeah, the results are definitely there. But yeah, January.
Was the ACOS really high when you, before mid January, like when you started working with it?
Yeah, so the ACOS was around that 400 and change percent before
When you
I.
started working with it?
Exactly.
Okay, cool. Yeah, yeah. Cause yeah, okay. So when you started working with this account, it was already at like 400%.
450, 500-ish. Yeah, 450.
Whoa. So
Yeah.
I mean, dude. Okay. So you get handed this account, right? So somebody, you know, you get handed an account, 450% ACOS. I mean, you must look like a freaking genius in 1 month taking it from, to them at least. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? I mean, some people who are more experienced might be like, oh, whatever. But like you have to see it from the perspective of where you started, because, you know, when you're working with that person, if their ACOS is 450%, it's not our job to judge whether or not it's a good or bad ACOS. It's our job to help them improve. And so, you know, when you improve, they're going to appreciate it so much, you know, because, you know, they were stuck. I mean, when somebody's at 450%, it shows struggle. It
Mhm.
shows that they don't know what they're doing. And so when you come in and you can remedy that, I mean, the appreciation that, you know, the person that you work with should be pretty high, because I mean, going from 423 to 328 is huge, man. That's 100% decrease. You've increased sales by 300. You know, sounds like it's going in the right direction. Now, is that the only account you work with, or do you work with other accounts as well?
Yeah, I do work with some other accounts, and I can pull up some more info right here. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, yeah, let's do it. And I think it's really cool that you have this account that had like 400% ACOS,
Mhm.
because, you know, there aren't many interviews. Like if you look at the marketing in the PPC field, it's like from 50% to 30% ACOS or 60% to 30%. You don't hear 423%. So I'm excited to put this one out there because people are going to be like, what the heck? Like, because nobody talks about a 400%, even though every professional PPC professional has seen, I've seen ACOSs of 1,000%, you know,
Yeah,
for campaigns, you know, but
that,
they didn't have a ton of spend, you know what I mean? It was like a very small amount, but I think it's good to kind of like show because, it goes to show that it's not about like where you start, it's about where you're going, and things like that. And, it's not cut and dry, PPC, it's relative. So,
Exactly.
yeah, this one's a first, man. I'm excited.
Yeah. So let's see here. All right. So another one, the ACOS has kind of remained the same. The impressions have increased a little bit, but what's gone up was the sales and the spend on this one. So
Okay.
with the same ACOS, we're just seeing higher volume basically, and so that's another thing the brand is really happy with, and I'm also happy with as well. So that
What are
was
the numbers?
so. Let's see. Last month.
Oh, wait a minute. Hold on, hold on. So January, okay, can I ask a question real quick? So for the previous account, you
Mhm.
said January was 1900 in sales, 8100 spend, 423 ACOS.
Yep,
And in February, it's 2200 sales, 7500 spend, 328 ACOS, right?
that's correct.
And we're not even done with February.
We're not exactly.
So okay, so it's not even a month over month. You're seeing better performance in less than a month.
Exactly. Yep. Exactly.
Okay, so it's almost now. Give me that second account.
Yeah. So with the second account, last month we had 4,500 in spend,
Uh huh.
3,500 sales with 130% ACOS.
Okay.
And so this month we've had 5,500 in spend with 4,200 in sales with 130%.
Okay.
So the ACOS has stayed the same. The spend has, I believe, increased, but the sales has also increased. And it's just an overall achievement to be able to get more volume. And we are looking to lower the ACOS, but I mean,
Yep.
just nice and slowly. Just for now, I mean, the impressions and the sales volume picking up is just a great win for us.
I feel like you must be working with some bigger brands, primarily because it's funny. Like if I were to work with a private label seller, or more of like a, someone who's kind of just like started their business from home, or like
Mhm.
smaller, kind of small business type thing. Say even 7-figure, 8-figure sellers that are mainly Amazon businesses. Usually their ACOSs aren't that high. But when you work with those bigger brands
Mhm.
that don't know anything about Amazon, you know what I mean? You get
Mhm.
into the account and they're just like, they have no clue what's going on, but it's not a priority because the other business units in their company are just massive. And so it's like you're coming in and you're doing it based on just like really poor optimization. So like for you it's a great opportunity because you don't the goal isn't to work with accounts that don't need help in this
Mhm.
business. The goal is to work with accounts that need help. And so and the more help they need, the
Mhm.
bigger impact you can have. And so you're, even though people might be like, oh man, they didn't do a good job of their ACOS, blah, blah, blah. But the
Mhm.
way I see it is like, you know, for whatever reason that they weren't able to achieve a certain goal or whatever is irrelevant. It's like our job to not judge that and to be like, hey, I can come in and look, not only will it help them a lot, but it's going to help me, because I'm going to look like a superhero. You know what I'm saying? They're going to be like, man, this guy took us from, 423% to 100%, less than 100%. You're probably going to get under 100% at one point with that thing. And then you're going to be like, they're going to be like, holy crap, dude.
Yeah.
Just make sure to communicate it to them. You know what I mean? Because one thing I learned about working with, just in general and in life, is you have to continue to communicate not only the results that you get recently, but those results that you've gotten historically. Because from my experience when I'm working with people, and it's not their fault. We sometimes tend to be, I do it myself. We tend to be short-sighted. What have you done today for me? But it's
Yep.
like, remember when we started working together and you were at this level and where we're at now? And that's because of all these changes we made. And there's a compound effect. So it's always good to like, not only remind, it's okay to do the reporting and the recent stuff like that, but it's also okay to look at like, hey, how have we performed over the past few years? And I'll do that with accounts I work with. I have accounts I've been working with for years, right? And I'll be like, hey man, it's just crazy to look at. I'll look at when we started working together up to now. And it's just like, it's just, it's some real crazy growth. And you're just like, wow. But you have to show them that as well, because they'll
Yeah.
just be like, what have you kind of done or whatever.
Mhm.
And it's always good to look at that past history, and just kind of like, let people know about it. I do that with students as well. Like sometimes they'll be like, they'll show me maybe like they haven't been getting results or something recently, but they've been with me for a long time. And I'll be like, so when did you start working, blah, blah, blah. And then we start talking through it and they're like, yeah, I guess it did provide good results. Actually, I don't know if I've ever had that conversation, but that's how it would go in my head. But
Definitely.
yeah, dude, sounds like you're on your way up, man. And it looks like the processes are helping a lot. So, what's kind of like the one it sounds like all of them provided a big impact, but it sounds like really like the bulk files really maybe had the most impact for you because it allowed you to basically like free up your time to,
Yes.
work on other stuff and, basically make a lot of changes in a short time period,
Exactly.
go
Yep.
transitioning from that ad console to the bulk files is just, I mean, it's a life changer.
Mhm. Exactly. It definitely is. And like you said, it helps you scale and not have to worry about, just the nitty gritty. You can do everything in bulk, and that's something I've been able to apply, and I've noticed right away. Like I've mentioned in the last month, it's just been night and day the difference. And so that's been a huge part. And I just like that, and keeping that in mind, what you talk about in the course about scaling, and that can be applied to any business model or anything in life technically. And so
Yeah.
I've been thinking about it a lot lately and just with everything in life, and it's been helping out. So being able to scale or just focusing on the bigger tasks at first, and just that 80-20 rule and everything you talk about in terms of mindset and everything, that's also been a huge help.
Yeah, I always kind of think of it like minimal input, maximum output. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? It's like scaling is about how do we like put in have a small input and then create a large output. It's kind of like a good example with advertising, Amazon advertising is like, okay, like, let's say you had like 100 campaigns, right? And
Yep.
you had to optimize each campaign, right? So like that would take you, let's say it takes like 5 hours, right? But
Mhm.
with a bulk file, it takes like, 15, 20 minutes and you
Yeah.
get the similar or better result, right? Well, you went from spending 6 hours to get this result to spending 15 minutes. So you've decreased your input. And that's how you scale, right? It's not like you're not being lazy, you're being smart, man. You know what I mean? You're like, how do we like be smart? And working smart's an important skill set to have because
Mhm.
there are plenty of people that work hard. Humans work hard. They're great at working hard. They'll work 10, 12, 14, 15 hours a day. The story of people having two jobs and all that stuff. But how do you transition? And it's okay to work hard and to do that. And I do want to take into consideration that some people in the world, aren't given the opportunity to work smart because of the country they live in, the cultural limitations, things like that. So those aren't the people that I don't want to like say that people who work hard aren't, judge them or whatever. But if you have the opportunity to work smart and be able
Mhm.
to apply those principles of scale, it's really important.
Definitely. Exactly. And yeah, like you said, some people don't have the opportunity to based off circumstances, but when able to apply it, it works magic, and I love it. So that's been huge, just the bulk and the mentality that you talk about. So yeah, I'm actually working on, I believe it's 7 different brands right now. So
Cool.
yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and try to
Seven brands.
yeah.
So real quick, I got a question. I'm kind of curious, where have you been applying this in other areas of your life? I'm curious, the mindset and kind of the scale and stuff like that you're kind of learning from the program.
Yeah, so just with other business ideas and just everything in life, but specifically with other business ideas, and even with this in terms of in terms of PPC,
Yeah.
from the aspect of me being the analyst or the PPC specialist versus kind of scaling it up and turning it maybe into an agency at some point myself, where I'm working
Yep.
more on managing or, just on the bigger tasks versus being inside the campaigns. At some point, I'm looking to do that just from being able to scale and just that mentality of putting your mind or your focus on what matters the most or what's going to bring in the biggest results. I feel like that's going to be the best part or the best opportunity for me is to be able to at some point step out of being the specialist and owning an agency just from the mentality and the talk about scale and just moving in bulk. So
Yeah.
with PPC, like I mentioned, but just other businesses in general. So for example, with real estate, I'm into real estate, and one thing I do is like excuse me. All right. Yeah. So I'm into real estate. And so one thing I've been doing was like scouting and like with real estate wholesaling. I'm not sure if you know about the business model, but um, at some point it's all about numbers basically. Instead of me reaching out to all the homeowners all at once, or, just manually reaching out, I'm thinking of scaling that up in terms of just hiring and outsourcing that part, and just stepping out of that part since it's not the most important part, and focusing more on the most important part of that business, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I've heard of that model. I actually know someone who like hired someone. What they did was they hired someone overseas to make phone calls to
Exactly.
people, like basically like I don't know what the like they find prospects online and then they call them and
Mhm.
they try to like I don't know what the whole model is. There's plenty of models in real estate, you know what I mean? There's
Definitely.
like there's a
Stages.
lot of different models within that industry, like acquisition and then rental, like rent out, buy it and then rent it out,
Mhm.
or like flipping homes. You
Yep.
know what I mean? There's a lot of different areas. And I think like that with the wholesale one is like where you flip it, right? You buy it at like a smaller price and then you,
Yeah. So with real estate wholesaling, basically you're getting it under a contract at a certain price, and
yeah,
you're
yeah.
kind of assigning that contract to another investor that's looking to purchase the property, and you would take kind of a cut for finding that specific deal. So the investor will look
Oh,
at the deal and say, "Oh, that looks like a great price for a great house. That's a great investment." Whether they want to flip it or whatever they want to do with it, and if they like the deal, then you can choose what price to sell it to that end investor for. So let's say
yep,
you lock it in on a contract for 150, it's worth 200. You can sell it for 175 to the end investor, and if it's still
yep.
appealing to them, they'll pick it up. So that's kind of what the wholesaling is.
Cool, man.
Mhm.
Yeah, man. I've kind of like done similar where I've thought about scale and minimal input, maximal output in other areas. And one area that I've been applying it to recently is like, because I like to work out a lot, like fitness and things like that. And, one is like my training. I used to think, and I feel like we're taught in that industry, it's like lift more, push harder, work
Yeah.
out more. That's kind of I feel like the mantra of the industry. But, after doing some research, it's not about lifting more, it's about lifting like smarter, right? It's about like minimal input. It's you're gonna have to push hard and work hard, but it's like doing 1 hour instead of 2 hours because unless you're taking steroids, you can't train, you can't lift weights for 2 hours. You know what I mean? So like when you start to understand the science and take a more like smarter approach, you can be like, what is like the minimum viable work that I can do to get to
Mhm.
my result the quickest? And I've kind of nailed down my optimum, but it's like, I don't want to do more necessarily. I want to like, I know the goal I want to achieve and I want to get there with as little input as possible, but not like, but I'm still going to work hard, like not as little input. Like, I don't want people to think I'm like getting away from work, but like as efficiently, let's use an efficiency, it's an efficiency thing. Cause it's like, yeah. So, I think it's a good skill set to have in all areas. Like it's about efficiency, not putting as little work, but like putting in the right work to get the result. You can apply it to like, I mean, I don't know. I apply it to like all domains,
Mhm.
friendships, relationships, things like that. Like what are the things that are the primary movers of where I want to go with these things?
Yep. And that's what I've
Yeah,
noticed as
dude.
well. Just in life in general, I find myself on a day-to-day basis just thinking of things and trying to think of what's the most important part of that I can focus on at first to get the best results. And that's come, like I said, from the course. And so now, like I said, I find myself on a day-to-day basis, just every time I think of something, I'm thinking what's the quickest or best way to get to that end goal, the most efficient.
Yep. And then you like work your way backwards from there,
Yep. Reverse engineer it kind of. And
reverse engineer it and try not to make it perfect, like perfection is the enemy of completion sometimes.
I've noticed that myself, and like I've been doing a lot of like Amazon businesses and stuff like that since for like maybe 7 years now since kind of we met, and ever since then, I did notice that I have that tendency to try to be perfect with things, and I've noticed that that's not always the best way to do it, and just kind of getting things done to the best of your ability without wasting too much time being held up is the best way to do it. So that's another part of it. And you've also mentioned that in the course. So I've taken a lot of the mentality and the mindset,
Yeah.
and I'm able to apply to a lot of things. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah, my pleasure, man. And I think, people who tend to lean towards being kind of like a perfectionist,
Mm-hmm.
including myself, we don't want to like share something with the public unless we think it's perfect. So I think it holds a lot of people with that disposition back from, for example, like being more social online or being more public because of judgment, right? Like, because if there's no way to be perfect, right? Perfect doesn't exist. It's like a process, So like, when you have that personality, sometimes you get nervous about, sharing something with the public, including yourself. And so that's why a lot of people will avoid, certain things, is because they're worried about judgment, from other people. But you just have to be like, whatever, and just keep plowing through,
Yep, definitely, 100%. Exactly.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, dude. The perfectionist thing, I think I think quite a few people have it. I'm not sure like how prevalent it is. I know I have it as well, but
Mhm.
kind of combating that's important, man. Like what's good enough to get out there?
Exactly, exactly. And sometimes just that overthinking and like the paralysis by analysis, kind of just getting started
Yeah.
versus saying, I don't know how to do the entire thing, so I'm not going to bother doing anything until I get the whole concept down, rather than just getting started right now and understanding that you can learn the rest as you go. So that's
Yeah.
also comes into the same topic basically.
Cool, man. So let me see here where we're at. How long has it been, the interview, you think? Probably like
Uh,
20, 30 minutes.
yeah, 20. I can try to
Okay.
find some more brands. I've launched campaigns for all of them. I just got to find which ones have the best results.
Yeah, maybe we'll do one more and then we can maybe kind of wrap it up
Yeah.
and then we'll be good to go.
Yep. Sounds great.
Let's do it, man. All right, hold on. Let me do this. So what do you do in your free time, man? What do you like? What are your hobbies?
I
Let the people
really,
know.
yeah, I love martial arts. I love martial
Which
arts. I'm big
which
on
one?
boxing and Muay Thai, UFC in general, but I love watching boxing and like UFC, and I love just training martial arts in general. So it's mainly like the stand up. I want to at some point get into Brazilian jiu-jitsu and just like grappling, but I'm big on Muay Thai specifically, and second would be boxing. I just love the stand up game and kickboxing, boxing, Muay Thai. I love all of it.
Cool. Yeah, I did. I've done, Hapkido. I did Hapkido. That's a stand up.
Yeah,
It's a little bit of little bit of Hapkido, a little bit of Taekwondo, and a little bit of Judo. I'm not like an expert or anything, but I'd say when it came to experience, the most I have is in Hapkido, which is kind of the one I wanted. It's because it's a self-defense martial art. But yeah, man, I'm interested. I like the UFC as well. I don't watch it very much, to be honest, and I haven't been doing it as much as I used to. But I kind of like know kind of the big names, like Habib, Connor,
yep.
John Jones, yeah, Amanda Nunes. Yeah, dude. I mean, the list goes on. I know way too much about. I think it's interesting too. I know a lot about it as well, man. I know like a ton about it. Specifically the UFC. I don't follow boxing as much. I mean, I kind of like, like in the UK, there's like Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
then you've got in the US, I don't follow it as much other than like there's like these new YouTuber things going on with like Jake Paul. Yeah, yeah. So yeah. I know a little bit. Yeah. It's interesting, man. Like, I think it's just like, yeah. It's an interesting industry, man. And it's kind of like, yeah. It's kind of fun to watch because like what's so interesting about fighting is it looks so unstructured, but
Yeah.
it's extremely structured.
Mhm.
And I think that like one thing that draws me to it is like I love athletes. Like
Yeah.
athletes are like I even like them more than like high performing entrepreneurs because of like how much they challenge your body. I think I think I lean towards loving challenging my physical. And so maybe that's why I like athletes a lot. Cause like, that's why I like weightlifting, but like, I love athletes. And what's cool about athletes is like, they have to be like, they have to like optimize like every domain. You know what I mean? They have to like sleep. They have to like make sure they do this and that. Obviously there are exceptions to the rule. I was listening to a podcast by Chad Johnson, Ocho Cinco. He's a former wide receiver, and apparently he's known for like eating McDonald's every day.
I was
But
listening
like
to that today.
his genetics are
It's crazy.
stupid, man.
That's
Dude,
so
I'm
crazy.
sorry. Dude, I'm sorry, but like I was watching, he was interviewing Cam Newton and a
Oh my,
quarterback, and
oh,
like
bro, I was listening to this speech literally an hour before we hopped on this call. That's
the I am
it,
athlete. The
yes, yeah.
yeah,
He's trying to
yeah,
get Cam Newton. He said he'll move in with him and like manage him, and he wants him to like start eating his way and just working out his way. And he said he'll be able to lose weight and everything like that.
yeah, yeah.
Is that
And I
it?
was like, and Chad was just like, it's not genetics. Like I'm like,
No.
shut up, dude. Like there were seriously people who just have a certain genetic makeup that
Mhm.
allows them to repair quicker,
Yep.
to, metabolize those foods, like to create, so like, I think, dude, based on what that guy told me, like his genetics are probably like Chad Johnson's, his
Mhm.
genetics are probably just nuts. You know what I mean?
It's ridiculous. Yeah, he says he eats McDonald's basically. He said 85% of his meals or 85% of the time he's eating it's McDonald's, his diet.
Yeah.
And he works out like twice a day, something like that. And he's just physically gifted, man. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Dude, I've kind of like went in, I've studied bodybuilding and learned from some people, and I've learned that genetics is a real thing in athletes. And my wife was telling me that, like, I mean, I'd have to look more into this, but just what she told me, she was listening to a book, but like apparently a lot of athletes have like a certain gene that allows them to recover quicker than like kind of your average person. So,
Yeah.
you think of like these people who do 2-a-days and stuff like that. Like I definitely don't have that gene. You know what I mean? Like I get done with 5 days and I'm just like, I'm good. I need 10 hours of sleep. And
Yeah, I've
if I
actually
eat, like, if I
competed.
eat McDonald's, I'd have heartburn.
Oh my
Heart.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, I've been trying to watch what I eat as well, but I mean I fall victim to that eating junk food every now and then. But I mean in terms of athletic, I've been athletic my whole life. I love basketball. I've played basketball, football, just running, soccer and martial arts. So yeah, I've actually competed in like martial arts. I used to fight out of the UFC gym in New York, and
You did?
yeah, I had one. I almost had a second fight that was like on a whole promotion and everything, but I had one fight hosted by the UFC gym. So I'm 1-0 right now. I have 1 win, 0 losses. But I've been
No way. Wait. So hold on. So, so Sufian, you have one
not
fight
signed for
under
the
your
UFC,
belt.
but under the UFC gyms. They have
Yeah,
UFC.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So
I
you're
have
1-0.
mhm,
You're not professional, but your general record is 1-0, right?
yep, amateur record exactly.
Your
1-0.
amateur record is 1-0.
Yeah,
Oh, holy crap. I didn't know that.
yeah. I
Dude,
have.
I did not know that.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I'm really, really passionate about it. I really like it to the point where it, I would love to do it just even as a hobby, like kind of like travel and just compete on kind of like a fun competitive basis, not even for money, but just like travel the world. I know like in Muay Thai, Thailand, they have this thing called Tiger Muay Thai. It's like a camp.
Yep.
Love to go there. It's like the biggest, most well-known camp for like Muay Thai. My grandfather actually, he supposedly, I'm not sure 100%, but he's big in Aikido. I believe from what I've heard,
I know
he's
Aikido.
actually
Yeah.
introduced Aikido to like Brooklyn way back then. And so he's had dojos and stuff like that. My father was into martial arts Aikido since he was a baby, basically, because of my grandfather.
Whoa.
He moved to Morocco and he has now an Aikido there in Morocco, a dojo there in Morocco, teaching Aikido. So martial arts is big for me and in my family. So I love just staying active. And like you said, a lot of different parts of life for athletes. You have to be physically fit, but mentally fit, and just so many things that have to be right. So they got to be really disciplined to keep up.
Yeah, it's like living on the razor's edge. Everything needs to be perfect. And unless there are like people who are genetically, I'm sure, but like, you really got to like dial things in because you got to make weight. And then like you got to gain 2 pounds. A lot of like the strategy is like when you go to weigh in, you try to just deprive yourself extremely so that you can gain that weight back. So you're heavier in the fight. You know what I mean? So they'll try strategies to get their weight down as low as possible so they can make weight. And then they just carb up or whatever. I don't know the details, but they'll use like different methods to get that weight back so that
Yep,
they can be as big as possible when they go to fight.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yep, very true. And it's
Yeah,
hard and
dude.
supposedly not too healthy for you to drain your body like that. But they're doing it.
Yeah, I mean, like they live on the edge of extremes, man. You know,
Mhm.
that's not a health. I mean, that's not a healthy profession in general. Professional fighting is not healthy at all. So,
No, yeah,
so I mean, to drain your body is just like whatever. Like I'm gonna go like get paid to get my head. Like so it's just like one small type thing. I was actually like back to the food thing you mentioned. I was reading. I don't remember. I was reading like no, I was listening to a neuroscientist talk about food and obesity and things like that,
Mhm.
and she talked about how like one of our like rewards, like our natural rewards, is food. So like when we were like hunter gatherers, we didn't have food as much as we do now, and so like our reward system, like dopamine, was built like food was like not only was it good for our body, but it like helped like release dopamine, which is like the happy chemical. But
Yep.
now we have we have food just at will, right? Like we don't have to hunt for it, we don't have to work for it, so we can get like the fattiest, sugariest stuff. And what it does is it creates like like unnatural dopamine hits. You too much sugar, too much fat. So it's like, people have to consciously build a new relationship with food
Mhm.
because they're battling their evolutionary like markers. So you're battling like, your body's like more food, and they want the worst food, the fat and the salt and
Yeah.
stuff like that, because it makes you feel, it not only tastes good, but it makes you feel good. And
Yeah.
so like there's a lot of these biological markers you have to kind of like consciously be like, like short term, this looks amazing. I literally had an instance last night. So I had like a cheat meal last night. I had
Mhm.
like a burrito, right? And I was like looking at the hot sauce, right? And I was like, like this would taste so much better with this hot sauce. I was like, dude, and I was like, if you're going to do a cheat meal, do a cheat meal. But then I was like, you know what? This is probably a good time to practice restraint. So like what I'll do is because the hot sauce, it doesn't have calories, but it has sodium. And I was like, so I was like, you know what? Just this one time, just, practice that, flex that muscle, so I'm always kind of like, it's little by little, like no, my food intake is nowhere near perfect. I'm working on it. I'd say, it's 70%, but like, I'm just always like iterating it and trying to get better at it. Cause it's like,
That's
yeah,
that's amazing, just to be able to consciously be able to limit yourself, because I feel like a lot of people don't have that, including me. I need to definitely work on that, but just no one's going to tell you not to do that, so it has to be your job to do that. So you have to really be self-motivated to get better and just keep your body right. So that's amazing.
yeah. And from like a data perspective, this is kind of how I've kind of rationaled it for me, is like, it's like like nutrition is like data to me. Like it's your body's data, right? It's like it like helps fuel all these different processes. So like if I want to make the best decisions, I want to have the best energy, then I kind of want to make sure like, my body gets what it needs,
I mean,
And so like that's kind of how I think of it. It's from like a data input, data output thing. Now I'm not saying like you should be strict and not eat like good foods, because like, treats and things actually provide a different form of reward. Like it helps you taste good and things like that. But that's kind of for me how I justified it, was like, I'll make better decisions. My mood will be more stable and my energy will be better if I kind of try to, make sure I get what my body needs.
exactly, that's a great way to
Yeah,
put
dude.
it. I think you have a background in nutrition, don't you?
Yeah, so I have my undergraduate degree was in nutrition, and I also have like a certified personal trainer certification from like like the National Academy of Science and Medicine.
Oh, wow.
And yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
nutrition was something I've loved since I was like 17, and then the personal training thing was something that I just did actually while I had my PPC business for fun. I was like, I just want to learn about it. And
Mhm.
so I was like, I just studied after work, and then after like 6 months, I went and took the test downtown Chicago, and yeah, it's pretty easy.
Very nice, very nice.
Yeah,
Going back
dude.
to that same one from earlier, the one we were talking about earlier. So I have some of the campaigns specifically. So that's the whole portfolio. That wasn't like one specific campaign, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah, yep.
Right? Yeah. So some of the campaigns we've launched have like great ACOSs compared to the older ones. So for
Cool.
example, we have one. Well, some of the older ones were like 1,000% or like 800%. And I think I mentioned that to you when I first responded to you, and I was like, "Hey, Sean, I've just started applying these to these newer brands, and they're killing it already. We're seeing great results." And I was hesitant
Yeah.
to tell you about it because it looked. at the end of the day, it still looks like a high ACOS, but like you mentioned, it's a huge success in terms of like the results month over month. It's these
It's relative. It's a
exactly.
relative, everything's relative, right? Like it's relative to where you were, right? It doesn't matter what it looks like compared to everybody else. It's relative to where you were before and it's improvement. So yeah, keeping that in mind rather than comparing yourself to everybody else. Compare your account to where it was before and now as not to everybody else and what everybody else is doing.
Yep, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So we have some with some ACOSs of like 32%, 90%, 200%. Although the overall portfolio is around 400. That's 328 actually. Yep, 328%. But some of the older campaigns are still there,
Yeah.
running for now. So they have like ACOSs of like 1,000%, 800%, 400%.
Gotcha.
Some of these newer ones, yeah, they're doing really good and they're killing it. So
Compared to before.
yep, compared to before. Just overall, yeah. I mean, just in the month, we just launched it, and it'll have like we have one with 32% ACOS, one with a 90% ACOS, and then we're looking at the
Yeah.
old ones that have been running before I stepped in, and 1,200% ACOS, 800% ACOS. So huge, huge improvements month over month.
I love it, man. I love it. All right, Sufian, I think we've covered some results. We covered some details. So, we kind of went off into the path of the unknown, went down some alleyways, like talking about other stuff, but that was interesting. So, how can people reach you if, they want to reach out to you, where can they reach you?
Yeah. So as of now, you can reach me either through Facebook, email. I can send you the information, or how do you want to do that part?
Yeah. Yeah. What's your email, so they
Yeah.
can reach out?
My email is Sufian PPC. So my name, Sufian PPC @gmail.com.
Cool.
Yep. And then,
Awesome.
yeah. So I guess you could cut this part out, but I do need to start getting my social kind of situated and stuff like that. So if I wanted to at some point start onboarding clients and stuff. So
Yeah.
I don't have that done right now. Should I do that over like the next couple of days, and then how should I do that
Well,
so that when people are watch this video, like so that I
yeah.
have
Yeah.
social up.
Yeah, we can keep this in here, man. Don't worry. What I would do is, just change it to your name, you
Mhm.
know, and so that people can find you. And
Mhm.
I think just change it to your name and keep your profile pic or whatever. But I would at least put your name on there, like your regular name, just because then that way, when you tell people Sufian Hakeem, they can find you. You know what I mean? And maybe just letting people know that you do PPC on your bio,
Right.
and that shouldn't take too long, like 5 minutes.
Yeah, definitely. And then so also like LinkedIn, what's the best ways, or like the best channels for people to reach me through, uh, from your
I'd just
experience?
say Facebook and Gmail and email are pretty good. That's what we
Okay,
use, Facebook and email.
gotcha, gotcha. Okay, great.
Yeah, those are good ones. Cool. All
Right.
right, guys. We will wrap this one up. Sufian, I appreciate you, man. Thanks so much, dude. I know you're busy now. You got all these 7 brands that you're managing. It's Saturday. And so, most people on Saturdays aren't working. So thank you, man. I
Thank you.
appreciate it. And if you want to reach Sufian, he gave you his Facebook and his email address. All
Mhm.
right, guys. I will talk to you later.
Take care.